Incredible dog discovers abandoned girl after 198 days, revealing a heartwarming reunion. In the heart of Maplewood, a small town where hope seemed buried beneath layers of debt and despair, the whispers of Emily's fate echoed everywhere. A girl lost for 198 days. They said, shaking their heads in disbelief, as if the weight of disbelief was somehow lighter than the truth. Emily Hart, just 11, had vanished into the shadows of the towering pines behind her house, leaving behind a family torn apart by the chaos of divorce. But fate, with its unpredictable hand, would soon unveil an incredible twist. Emily felt like a ghost in her own home, invisible as her parents crumbled under the weight of their financial struggles, each lost in their own darkness. Days turned into weeks, and Emily watched her once vibrant family fade, their laughter swallowed by silence. However, there was one glimmer of light amid the shadows: a scrappy stray dog named Buddy, who entered her life one fateful afternoon, drawn to her gentle touch and the morsels she offered from her lunch. He became her steadfast companion, a furry guardian who saw through the veil of her lonely existence. Together, they explored the woods behind her house, finding joy in each crack of a twig or rustle of leaves. A laughter-filled adventure that pushed away the burdens, if only for a moment. But one summer day, Emily's carefree exploration morphed into an unsettling reality. Wandering further than she ever had before, she soon found herself lost. Panic flooded her veins as the sun sank, shadows stretching like tendrils around her. Just when fright consumed her heart, a rainstorm erupted, drenching her in fear, the underbrush becoming a maze of overwhelming obstacles. For days, time slipped away as Emily sought safety in a forgotten cabin nestled deep within the woods. The outside world faded, her family's worries transforming into distant echoes. Meanwhile, Maplewood wrestled with its own demons. Buddy, with a heart full of love, wandered the streets, searching for Emily. But whispers of judgment clouded the townsfolk. "Why should we waste our time?" they murmured, casting aside comforts for preconceived notions wrapped in prejudice. The economic divide pushed neighbors apart, and Emily's disappearance became a haunting shadow, further fracturing the town's unity. As summer faded and autumn approached, Emily and Buddy emerged as symbols of hope and loss, one trapped behind walls, the other scouring the streets, searching for meaning. Until one fateful day when a storm rolled in, darkening the sky like the despair that had loomed over her family. Huddled in the cabin, Emily heard a scratching at the door, uncertainty flooding her heart. What if it was just a figment of her imagination? But as she opened the door, her breath caught in her throat. Eyes met, scrappy dog and lost girl, both believing they were forgotten. Their reunion radiated warmth, tearing down walls and igniting sparks of hope that flickered like lightning in the storm. How could such a moment mend a fractured family and heal a divided community? Their love battled the tempests of despair, asking if it could be strong enough to reunite a world in chaos. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. But what awaited them beyond that door? Would Buddy's unwavering loyalty and Emily's resilience be enough to pierce through the layers of doubt and judgment surrounding Maplewood? As thunder rumbled, the storm outside mirrored the turmoil within. Together, they stood on the precipice of change. Would their bond spark a transformation, one that would ignite hope in a community desperate for connection? The path ahead remained uncertain, but one thing was clear: the adventure had just begun, and the calling of the heart could not be ignored. As the storm raged outside, Emily and Buddy huddled close, warmth radiating between them despite the drenching rain that beat against the cabin walls. The sound of the wind howling felt like a shared lament, echoing the despair that had lingered in both their lives. But in this moment, they found each other and it sparked something within Emily. "I thought I lost you for good," she whispered, tears mingling with raindrops as they trickled down her cheeks. Buddy licked her face, his eyes shining with a fierce loyalty that no words could capture. In his wet, muddy coat, she sensed something far stronger than the storms around them, the unwavering bond of a friendship forged in loneliness and fear. Back in Maplewood, the news spread like wildfire. Families gathered around their televisions, each heart beating in anxious rhythm as they watched the story unfold. The sight of Buddy, scruffy and soaked but unrelenting in his quest, gripped the town by the heart. People began stepping out of their homes, drawn together in ways they hadn't been in years. They whispered amongst themselves, hope mingling with disbelief as they wondered how the reunion might change everything. It wasn't until the following morning when the sun finally broke through the heavy storm clouds, casting golden rays across the forest. Emily felt a rush of hope filling her with every passing second, a powerful reminder that she wasn't just a lost girl anymore. She was alive, and she had her best friend by her side. With Buddy navigating the familiar paths of the woods, Emily felt emboldened to step back into the world. "Let us go home, Buddy," she said with determination, her voice steadily rising over the chirping of the birds. They ventured out of the cabin, the playful winds blowing through Emily's hair, filling her with renewed courage. She had learned to survive in the forest, to fight back against the fears that had once pinned her down. Now, it was time to reclaim the life that awaited her. As they made their way back through the trees, Emily's mind churned with thoughts of her parents. Would they have been searching for her? Would they welcome her back? A nervous flutter danced in her stomach, but she pushed it aside. This was not just her battle, it was Buddy's too. They had faced the darkest nights together, and now dawn had finally arrived. When they reached the edge of the woods, the sight of Maplewood bathed in sunlight made Emily pause. The town was quieter than she remembered, but the collective breath of the community seemed ready, waiting for her return. With Buddy by her side, she marched toward the pavement, each step buoyed by hope and a fierce determination that burned in her heart. But before she could reach the town, voices broke the silence. A small group had gathered near the entrance, eyes wide with shock and something like wonder. "Is that?" one woman gasped, pointing. Emily's breath hitched as she realized that people were watching, but not with judgment. No, there was empathy in their expressions, curiosity blended with relief. "Emily, is that really you?" a familiar voice called out, drawing nearer her mother. But before she could respond, something shifted in the crowd. Old wounds and whispers of discontent wrestled with the undeniable urge for hope, and Emily knew that what followed could either cement their reunion or tear them apart again. Could love bridge the gulf of silence that had grown between her family? Would her bravery inspire a change, not just within her own heart, but in the town that had struggled for so long? With every step toward the heart of Maplewood, Emily realized she wasn't just walking home, she was on the brink of an awakening for herself, for Buddy, and for the entire community that watched, waiting for the next chapter to unfold. What would happen next? Could this be the moment that transformed everything they thought they knew? Emily stood there, heart racing, as she faced the familiar figure that had become both a symbol of her past and a source of her greatest fears. Her mother, now just a few feet away, looked different, more aged, perhaps, but the love in her eyes was unmistakable. It pierced through the years of silence and disappointment, waking something deep within Emily. "Mom," she managed, her voice barely above a whisper, choked with emotion. Tears pooled in her mother's eyes, transforming her familiar face into a reflection of an aching hope. The distance, a chasm of hurt and misunderstanding, seemed to hang heavy between them. "Emily!" Her mother rushed forward, arms outstretched, as if testing whether this was a dream. Emily moved too, instinctively seeking the embrace she had longed for. When they collided, it was like a bolt of lightning had struck. All the lost time, the tears, the pain melted away as they held each other tight. Buddy barked excitedly, leaping around them, adding a spark of chaotic joy to the moment. The crowd shifted, murmurs of astonishment threading through the air. Emily pulled back, looking around at the faces that had once felt so strange. They were neighbors, friends, and strangers, all drawn together by her return. "Where have you been?" Her mother looked on, bewildered yet fierce. The weight of her absence pressed on Emily's shoulders, but she took a deep breath, ready to lay everything bare. "I was lost. I needed time." Her mother nodded, as though remembering too well the days spent worrying, searching, and feeling helpless. "You scared us, Em." Her voice trembled, tinged with the remnants of anxiety that had consumed her every waking moment. Emily stood tall, the warmth of Buddy's body against her leg grounding her. "I know, Mom. I was afraid. But I found something out there." She gestured toward the woods behind her. "I found myself. I found Buddy." A ripple of empathy washed over the gathered townsfolk. One by one, people stepped closer, drawn in by the authenticity of the moment. Emily's words hung heavy in the air. What did it mean to regain oneself? 2 years of uncertainty unraveled in her mind, releasing fragments of fear and disappointment. From the crowd, a voice broke through the silence. "We all changed while you were gone, Emily. But we're here now." The speaker, a woman named Margaret, stepped forward, her face lined with a mixture of compassion and remorse. The words echoed in Emily's heart. It wasn't just her who had been weathering storms. The entire town had felt the tremors of her absence. "Maybe we can heal together." Emily's voice shook with the weight of vulnerability, a plea woven with the threads of hope. As solemn nods and murmurs of agreement spread through the crowd, Emily felt a renewed sense of purpose. Each face in front of her seemed to nod in unison, certainty shimmering in their eyes. Yet, in that moment of unity, Emily sensed a lingering fear beneath the surface. What if healing wasn't as simple as that? The years of silence and misunderstandings had fractured their bonds. Could they really rebuild? With Buddy gently nudging her forward, Emily stepped into the center of the crowd, her heart pounding with the weight of their collective expectation. "I want to try. I want to be a part of Maplewood again. But it'll take time. Can we do that?" The crowd shifted closer, energy buzzing with possibilities, as her mother squeezed her hand tighter. As silence enveloped them, a new storm brewed within Emily, not of fear, but of fierce determination. What would it take to change their destinies? As muted whispers stirred the air, Emily's gaze drifted to the treetops swaying lightly in the breeze. In that moment, an internal storm raged. While she would have to wrestle with her past, she was equally ready to meet the future with open arms. Could she really find a way to embrace both her newfound self and the community still reeling from the edges of their shared loss? Would this be the beginning of a journey toward forgiveness and understanding, or would it fracture them even more than before? The answers felt both tantalizingly close and impossibly far as she stood there, on the precipice of rebuilding. What awaited her beyond this moment of reconnection? When the next chapter of her life unfolded, would it bring light or darkness? The energy in the air became electric. Emily felt the eyes of the crowd all on her, their shared expectation enveloping her like a warm embrace. She couldn't help but smile, even as a tremor of uncertainty twisted in her stomach. Together, they stood at the edge of something vast and unknowable, a bridge between the past and the future. A woman stepped forward, one Emily barely recognized. It was Mrs. Jensen, her old art teacher, pulling up the rear of the group, and her weathered hands trembled as she spoke. "Emily, you remind us of the girl who painted dreams with every brushstroke. We've missed that brightness." With each affirmation, the weight on Emily's shoulders lessened, but the pressure to make things right pressed harder. I want to bring that brightness back. I want to be here, to paint with you all again," she replied, her voice gaining strength. "Then let us start now," a deep voice called out from behind her. It was Mr. Thompson, the town's oldest resident, a man whose stories of Maplewood's past had filled many a chilly evening around the fire. His hands gripped a walking stick, yet his eyes sparkled with vigor. We have a lot of catching up to do. Barbecue on Saturday? Share stories, mend old wounds? The crowd murmured in agreement, excitement rising as neighbors glanced at one another, rekindling old friendships that had been left to weather. Buddy whined softly, leaning against Emily, as if he recognized the shift. She ran her fingers through his fur, taking comfort from his steady presence. "Thank you," Emily breathed. "I love that. But it'll take more than just a gathering. I want to listen, to understand what you all went through while I was gone." A ripple of emotion washed over the crowd, many of whom had stories of their own to share, stories of loss, of moments spent worrying, holding tightly to the hope that Emily would return. As they began to gather in small clusters, narratives started to flow, broken pieces of their town weaving back together like an intricate tapestry. Emily felt overwhelmed yet exhilarated, like stepping into sunlight after years in shadow. Every shared laugh, every glimmer of understanding drew her further from that familiar abyss. Yet, in the background, darkness loomed, a fear of uncovering too much, of facing the ghosts that had haunted their absence. Her mother stood resolutely beside her, striving to re-establish the bond frayed by silence. "We've all been through so much, Em. Let us be brave together," she whispered, squeezing Emily's hand once more. With a deep breath, Emily called out, "Can we all share our stories? The good and the bad? Let's put everything out there. It's the only way to move forward." There was a moment of hesitation. Then a young man stepped up, one who had once been her classmate, now older, wearier. "I'll go first. I was angry when you left, but I found my own way to heal. I want to share that. It's time not to hide anymore." As he spoke, the crowd listened intently. Emily's heart swelled with a peculiar mix of pride and fear. This was how rebuilding would occur, through vulnerability. The sun dipped lower, casting warm hues over the gathering. Laughter mingled with shared memories, each one a brushstroke illuminating their canvas of connection. Despite the warmth, Emily sensed a storm brewing within herself. There were still conversations that needed to happen, foundational truths buried deep in unspoken words. Would everyone be ready for that? With the crowd starting to blend their tales, Emily's heart raced again. So much had yet to unfold. How would she handle the deeper wounds, the betrayals hidden beneath the surface? The laughter faded, whispers turning into reflections. Emily stood amidst shifting shadows, staring at the horizon, uncertain what lay ahead. Could she really wade through the complexity of reconnection to reach a brighter future? As the evening wore on, one question lingered heavy in the air: what revelations lay ahead on the journey to healing, and would the bonds of love forged in the past withstand the trials of the truth? The warmth of shared stories floated in the air, but Emily felt the chill of something unspoken hiding just beneath the surface. She watched as familiar faces became animated, flooding with nostalgia and emotions. Each laugh was a reminder of the years lost, the friendships paused. Yet, shadowed beneath the light-hearted banter, Emily sensed a tether to unhealed moments. Buddy, sensing her tension, leaned closer, his soft fur brushing against her leg. She scratched him absent-mindedly, grounding herself amid the tumult of unvoiced fears. As conversations buzzed around her, she thought back to the lone figure at her front door last week, the picture of despair that had taken residence in her mind. "Emily, can you believe Tom's finally a dad?" someone exclaimed, breaking her reverie. "It's about time he grew up." Laughter rippled through the gathering, but Emily felt a lump form in her throat. Tom had been a good friend, the grounding force in her life growing up, and she could still feel the sting of disappointment from his last visit before she left. "It's the things left unsaid, you know," echoed a voice, pulling her back to the present. It was Sarah, a childhood friend who had aged significantly in just a few years, her eyes showing a wisdom beyond her years. "We all need to share those, especially with someone like you who left us hanging." Everyone turned their eyes to Emily, a silence stretching around them. She could feel the weight of their expectations. I haven't come back just to listen, she began hesitantly. I need to share too. Her heart raced, a heavy thump punctuating her voice. There were reasons I left, reasons I thought would protect you all. But I see now that those reasons only built walls instead of bridges. The crowd breathed as one, and she recognized fear mirrored in their faces. I made mistakes. I didn't just abandon you, I abandoned myself. I thought if I ran away, I could escape everything, my grief, my guilt. But in doing that, I lost part of who I was. Tears sprang to her eyes, blurring her vision as emotions tangled through her. Emily felt vulnerable, exposed before her community, but the tension began to unwind. Voices of encouragement urged her on. Let us in, Emily, her mother whispered softly. Let us help you through it. With a shaky breath, Emily nodded. I'm ready. Whatever it takes. The evening wore on, and soon more voices joined. Stories of heartbreak and vitality, of dreams dashed and rebuilt, turning from whispers of sadness to shouts of triumph filled the air. Emily felt buoyed by their trust, a shared determination surfacing to touch the core of their lives. As the last rays of sunlight disappeared on the horizon, illuminating the gathering with a silvery glow, Emily realized this moment was critical, a leap into the unknown together. There were truths yet unspoken, some swirling in the crowd that could threaten the connections they were striving to rebuild. What do we say when the shadows come back? Sarah's voice cut through the mellow atmosphere. When some of the hurt is from within ourselves? Emily's heart sank. What indeed? The ripples of old wounds still lingered unacknowledged. The question lingered, dangling just out of reach, as eyes turned to her, filled with hope and some lingering doubt. Could she help them confront what had been hiding all along? As she stared at her friends, each face a mix of hope and fear, the question hung in the air, echoing softly against the quiet murmurs of the night. Would they all find healing together, or would the shadows unravel everything they were trying to weave back together? A hush fell over the gathering as Emily grappled with Sarah's question. The weight of it settled like a stone in her chest. She could see her friends leaning in, their expressions a mix of anticipation and concern, waiting for her answer. The flickering candlelight danced across their faces, illuminating memories and fears she hadn't dared to face until now. What happens when the shadows come back? Emily echoed, feeling the truth in Sarah's words resonate within her. It was as though everyone was holding their breath, waiting for the revelation that could either bind them closer or tear them apart. I think we have to speak them out loud, Emily replied, her voice shaking but firm. Shadows are scary when they're left in the dark. We have to shine a light on them. Share our struggles, our fears, and our regrets. A murmur of agreement rippled through the crowd, lifting some of the heaviness in the air. Sarah nodded, a spark igniting in her eyes. We can do that. This is a safe space. Emily took a deep breath, feeling the warmth of acceptance wrap around her. I want to start with Tom, she said, glancing over at the man who had been central to both her joy and her pain. I thought since I left, it would hurt less, but really, it just made everything worse. I want to talk about why it feels so hard to step back into friendship. The confession hung in the air, raw and honest. Tom shifted in his seat, the light revealing the furrow in his brow. He too had demons he battled, secrets that twisted in the corners of his heart. I didn't know how to be there for you, Emily. I thought I was giving you space, when really he faltered, his voice thick with emotion. I just failed you. Emily's heart twisted at his words. There was a shared understanding that had been cloaked in silence for so long. I should have reached out. I thought you'd be better off without me, but I realize now. She paused, the weight of her confession filling the space between them. I was wrong. I needed you. I still do. A ripple of emotion washed over the group, faces brightening with empathy. Emily could feel someone sitting beside her grasp her hand. It was Sarah, offering a lifeline. We're in this together. No hiding anymore. The lines of fear and hesitation began to blur as other friends shared their own stories. Each one unveiled a layer of vulnerability, cracks that pulsed with hurt but also healing. There were whispers of relationships fractured by misunderstandings, moments of passion snuffed out by unspoken words. With every story, the tension seemed to ease, replaced by a collective understanding. Emily felt as though they were stitching together a patchwork of their lives, one story at a time. Yet, even as the hope swirled around them, a heavy truth loomed. But soon, someone spoke up, breaking the growing bond. What if we still can't overcome the shadows? What if we're too broken to fix this? Emily felt her heart lurch. Was it true? What if their shared openness only revealed deeper scars? She looked at each of her friends, willing them to see her resolve. I don't have all the answers, she admitted softly. But I believe we can fight through the darkness together. Maybe together is where hope lives. A silence followed, suspended in possibility. The question lingered in the air, a fragile thread of connection woven through their hearts. Could they really overcome their shadows? As the stars began to twinkle in the evening sky, Emily felt a familiar stir of determination rise within her. The warmth of hope surrounded them, but uncertainty still clawed at the edges. How far could they go with their new resolve, and what would they discover in the light of their truths? As she glanced around at the faces she loved, Emily sensed they were all at a crossroads. With shadows whispering threats of doubt, would they dare to walk this new path together? The flickering candlelight cast soft shadows across the circle as the silence deepened, each friend lost in their thoughts. Emily could feel the pulse of their uncertainty. It throbbed through the air like an unresolved chord in a song. Would they step into the light together, or would they retreat back into the comfort of silence and pain? Breaking the tension, Sarah squeezed Emily's hand a bit tighter. We can't let fear dictate our lives anymore, right? Who wants to go next? Her voice was steady, but it wobbled slightly with vulnerability. Rachel, who had been sitting quietly, looked up. Her blue eyes glimmered under the candlelight, reflecting raw honesty. I've been carrying this weight too. It's not just you, Emily. She paused, her fingertips tracing the edges of her jeans. Last summer, I hurt my sister. I snapped at her over something stupid because I was overwhelmed. And now, it feels like that hurt is always hanging over us. The group's focus shifted toward Rachel, her admission setting off a chain reaction. Emily felt a swell of courage rise within her. They were all chips of the same broken vase. One by one, they began to share. What if we're all just stuck? That was Danny, his voice cracking. I thought leaving town would make things better, but it gave me so much time to think about everything. I thought I could start fresh, but the faces of people I hurt followed me. I'm done running. It's not about erasing the past, Emily replied softly, searching Danny's eyes. She could see flickers of pain mirrored in his gaze. It's about healing what's broken. We can't change what happened, but we can change how we respond. With each confession, the walls slowly crumbled. The shadows that once loomed over their hearts seemed to dissolve in the warmth of shared struggles. Laughter erupted at unexpected moments, to a shared joke about an ex, an old crush. Tears flowed freely, not just of sorrow, but of relief and connection. Emily felt a profound sense of togetherness, like they were being woven back into a whole. Maybe we should keep gathering, keep sharing, she suggested, hopeful energy crackling in her voice. Let us not hide in the darkness again. But just as their spirits lifted, Tom spoke again, his brow furrowing deeper. What happens if we open up too much? What if speaking it all out makes it more real? His question hung in the air, heavy with the weight of uncertainty. Emily glanced around the circle. Faces turned toward her, the hope flickering on the edges of their expressions, yet tinged with fear. It's real already, Tom, she replied. What we feel is real. Speaking our truths doesn't weaken us, it makes us stronger. It's like pulling weeds, if we don't deal with them, they just keep growing and choking the good things. Sarah chimed in, her eyes gleaming. Yes. If we all take turns being vulnerable, we share the weight. We should champion each other. And just like that, the resolve settled back in, stronger than before. They started planning their next meeting, brainstorming other ways to support one another with honesty and courage. The flickering candlelight felt brighter, like it had found a new home in their hearts. As the evening drew to a close, Emily couldn't shake the feeling of unity that enveloped them. But deep down, a whisper of doubt persisted. Would the anxiety of resurfacing shadows linger, gnawing at their newfound bond? Could they truly sustain this momentum when the quiet moments returned? A sudden draft swept through the room, extinguishing a candle, coating their gathering in darkness for a brief moment. Emily's heart raced. What lurked in the dark? Maybe we can do this again next week? She suggested, her voice cutting through the stillness. Definitely, echoed Sarah, determination lining her words. But as each friend promised to return, Emily felt the flicker of doubt again. Was the light they were seeking truly bright enough to guide them through the shadows? The question lingered like a chill in the air, promising answers yet to unfold. As they all stood to leave, another shadow loomed, one that made Emily hold her breath. Tom hadn't followed them outside but lingered in the dim light, his gaze heavy with unspoken thoughts that could change everything. What had he yet to reveal? The silence hung thick between them as Tom's eyes searched Emily's, attempting to convey an urgency that felt electric. She could sense his hesitation, as if he were struggling with the weight of a truth just on the brink of spilling over. Tom? Emily prompted softly, her heart racing. Is there something you want to say? He shifted from one foot to the other, glancing at the others who had stepped outside, their laughter filtering back through the open door. I just need to be honest with you all, he finally said, his voice barely above a whisper. It's about my own darkness. A lump formed in Emily's throat. She couldn't shake the feeling that whatever he was about to reveal could either deepen their bond or shake its very foundation. She motioned for him to continue, stepping closer, wanting to bridge the gap of uncertainty. Tom took a deep breath, eyes darting momentarily to the shadows surrounding them. I've been struggling for a long time. I thought I could hide it behind the smile I put on for everyone. But I'm not okay. I've been seeing a therapist since last summer, and it feels like I've been pulling each thread apart, trying to face things I'd kept buried. He paused, his gaze boring into Emily's, as if checking for understanding. I didn't want to drag anyone else down with me. I was scared if I opened up too much, that the darkness would swallow me whole. Emily felt the air catch in her chest. Tom, often the life of the party, the jokester, had been carrying this burden quietly. Tom, thank you for sharing that, she said gently. You don't have to carry this alone. But, he rushed on, I don't want to undo all the progress we've just made tonight. His voice cracked a little, the vulnerability turning the corner of hope into a shadow of doubt. What if I can't deal with it? What if tonight was just a moment of strength, and tomorrow I fall back into that void? Without thinking, Emily reached for his hand, squeezing it tightly. The fact you're here, the fact you're talking about it, that's huge. We're all in this together, Tom. We'll figure it out. The anxiety that hung between them began to soften, like snow melting in the sun. And if I fall? If I get lost again? He asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Then we'll pull you back, Emily replied. You mean too much to us for us to let go. We'll keep pulling weeds, together. Tom's expression eased slightly, but tension still lingered. I don't want to be a burden. You're not, she insisted, a warm glow beginning to build inside her heart. You're our friend, and friends share both joy and pain. Just like we did tonight. As their conversation deepened, the flickering candlelight inside felt like a safe harbor amid the storm. Tom was beginning to see that vulnerability wasn't a sign of weakness but rather a strength that could connect and heal. They stood for a moment, silently acknowledging the significance of the moment, and Emily sensed a shift in the air. There was possibility, they could move forward. But just as a tentative smile appeared on Tom's face, the breeze gusted again, sending a chill through the night. In that fleeting moment of calm, doubt returned to cloud Emily's mind, overshadowing the warmth she felt. Will we really be able to carry each other's burdens? She whispered, mostly to herself, but Tom caught the words. Right now, we can, he said, determination knitting his brows. But it's up to us to keep showing up and not letting the shadows win. As they turned to leave, the atmosphere shifted once more. The uncertainty of what lay ahead sat heavy on Emily's shoulders. Could they hold on to this connection when the world beyond returned to its relentless pace? And what would happen when tomorrows turned to weeks, and the growing shadows began to encroach again? A tight knot formed in her stomach. But if they faced the light together, maybe they could keep the darkness at bay. Stepping outside, Emily caught sight of the others laughing in a circle beneath the stars. Ahead lay a path filled with promise and challenge. Could they all keep stepping forward, hand in hand? But just before she joined them, another thought struck. What if not all shadows wished to disappear? What if some returned to haunt them uninvited? The night air was tinged with the scent of pine and laughter, but Emily felt her heart pound against her chest like a drum. She held Tom's hand a heartbeat longer, steadying both of them in this fragile moment. It felt like standing on the edge of something exhilarating and terrifying all at once. Finally, they joined the group. Their friends, faces lit by the soft glow of twinkling stars overhead, welcomed them with warmth. Sarah, the life of the party, was recounting a hilarious mishap that had everyone in stitches. Yet, as Emily looked around, she felt a bittersweet contrast. Laughter surrounded them, yet unease whispered just beneath the surface. Tom! You've got to hear this. Sarah called, always eager for his enthusiasm. Tom managed a smile, the weight of his worry lifted just slightly. Yeah, I'll catch up in a sec, he replied, looking back at Emily. His eyes still held that flicker of uncertainty behind the humor. As Emily drifted into the group, she felt out of sync, her thoughts still tangled in their private conversation. She cherished the connection growing between them, but the question lingered, how could they truly keep their promises of support when the shadows began to creep back in? Tom slid into the circle, already drawn back into the fun. His laughter rang out, a testament to their bond, yet she could see the flickers of stress in his eyes, battling the lightheartedness of the moment. She couldn't help but worry. Could this facade hold? Hey, Emily! Shouted Jake, pulling her from her reverie. Dance with me. He pulled her into the makeshift dance area, bright laughter echoing around them. She knew he meant well, but her thoughts kept trailing back to Tom. The music played, and Emily swayed to the rhythm, her smile forced. She glanced over at Tom, who was still engaging with the others, but she noticed his forced laughter. It made her heart ache. They were all reaching for joy, but she felt the shadows in the corners of her mind. What's wrong? Sarah asked, noticing Emily's distraction. She leaned closer, concern in her eyes. Just thinking, Emily replied quietly. About everything. She flicked her gaze back to Tom. About how we can handle this as pain, our loyalty. When things get tough again. Hey, Sarah said, placing a hand on her shoulder. You're doing your best. We're all in this together, remember? Ripping her gaze away from the scene before her, Emily took a deep breath, letting it fill her lungs. The truth was she didn't just worry about Tom. She worried about what it meant for all of them, the connections they had built, the glimmering threads weaving through their lives. As the night wore on, Emily noticed small changes. Some of their friends began to drift off, laughter fading, excitement quieting into introspection. She caught glimpses of uncertainty etched into several faces, mirroring her own. Eventually, she pulled Tom aside again, away from the fading party atmosphere. "Hey, are you all right?" she asked, forcing a smile to mask her worry. "I can always see straight through you." He looked down for a moment, his own smile faltering. "I don't know, I want to be happy. I want to enjoy this. But..." She didn't push. Just nodded, understanding that sometimes silence said just as much. They both leaned against the railing, a blanket of stars above them, shadows creeping in from the edges. "Maybe we just need to take it one day at a time," she suggested. "But are you up for something more than just tonight? Can we talk again, soon?" Tom turned to her, the vulnerability returning to his eyes. "Yeah, I think I need that." As the night deepened, a new wave of uncertainty gripped her heart. In that moment, amid the laughter and warmth, Emily felt the weight shift. What if their promise was met with challenges they weren't prepared for? She shivered slightly, and the darkness felt closer. Just then, a sense of resolve washed over her. Here they were, facing an uncertain future, but holding on to each other. Before they returned to the rest of the group, Emily spoke again, her voice steady. "Whatever happens, we'll figure it out. I just hope the darkness goes easy on us." Tom nodded, and his grip tightened around her hand. It had become a lifeline. But just as they exchanged a flicker of hope, Emily caught a glimmer of movement beyond the trees bordering the yard. Shadows didn't always retreat quietly. What if something out there was waiting for them, hidden and just out of sight? "Did you see that?" she whispered suddenly, her heart racing anew. Tom turned, his expression shifting from hope to uncertainty again. "What if it's more than just our fears?" As the night air thickened with tension, a feeling of inevitability crept in, leaving them both to wonder what shadows might yet disturb their fragile peace. Under the soft glow of the remaining stars, Emily felt an enveloping heaviness, her gaze locked on the darkness beyond the trees. "What if something's lurking out there?" she murmured, both a question and a fear interwoven into one. Tom followed her gaze, unease settling in his stomach. "I don't want to believe that," he whispered back. "But we've been haunted by shadows for so long, what if they don't want to let go?" He took a small step closer, and they shared an unspoken understanding. All the weight they had carried, the bonds they had forged, felt fragile at that moment. Emily's heart raced. "Tom, we promised to be honest. But what if honesty digs up pain we can't handle? Then we confront it. We can't let fear control us anymore," Tom replied, determination flaring in his eyes. But could they really face their fears? The thoughts danced helplessly around her mind, mingling with the shadows surrounding them. They were at the edge of the woods, at the edge of change, and yet there was still so much uncertainty. How could they charge forward into that darkness? It was then the crowd's laughter faded into gentle murmurs. The remaining friends began drifting in pairs toward their cars. Emily felt the coolness of the night deepen, and longing pulled her back to the warmth of their gathering. "We can't be stuck in this moment of fear," she insisted, her voice firm, echoing her unyielding resolve. "We owe it to each other to keep our promises." Just as they turned to return to the others, a movement caught Emily's eye, a flash of fur in the shadows beyond the trees. Her breath hitched, and instinct kicked in. "Tom, wait!" she whispered urgently, her entire being drawn towards the darkness. "Emily, don't!" he warned, but it was too late. She had taken a step forward, curiosity and trepidation guiding her. "Is someone out there?" she called, her voice steady but laced with uncertainty. The night seemed to whisper back. Before she could second-guess herself, the figure emerged hesitantly from the trees, a slender girl with wide eyes, tangled hair, and a look of desperation that struck Emily instantly. "Help please," she whispered, trembling. It was a haunting echo of her own past, and fear swelled within Emily. Was this girl lost too? Tom caught Emily's arm, his grip a reminder of their shared resolve. "What do we do?" he asked. "Help her," Emily instantly replied, the conviction rising through her. She stepped forward, past the shadows of doubt, presenting herself as a beacon. "Are you lost? You're safe now." The girl took a hesitant step forward, clutching a worn teddy bear tightly against her chest. I don't know where I belong," she choked out, tears streaming down her cheeks. Emily felt a pang in her heart. This girl carried echoes of her own pain, the feeling of being lost and unseen. "You're not alone anymore. You're with us," she assured, warmth flooding her voice. As Emily framed her arms around the girl, she felt Tom's presence alongside her, his unwavering support teaching her what true courage looked like. They had stepped into the unknown, drawn together by their fears but also their collective strength. The girl began to cry softly, a wave of sorrowful relief washing over her. "I thought I was all alone, that no one would care," she whimpered. Emily's heart shattered for this girl, this ghost of her past, and she squeezed her tighter. "We all feel that way sometimes, but you have a family waiting for you. We've learned we can find each other again." Together, Tom echoed, kneeling to the girl's level, sharing a spark of kindness as he extended his hand. "We've all lost something, but we can find it again." With every ounce of strength, they all stood together, enveloped by soft moonlight and the thrum of the night. The fear of shadows began to fade as this new bond breathed life into hope, evidence that connections could heal even the deepest wounds. It was a pivotal moment. The girl looked between Emily and Tom, her eyes welling with the light of possibility. "Really?" she asked quietly, testing the waters of trust. "Really?" Emily affirmed, heart swelling with warmth. "You're one of us now." In that moment of unity, the night felt charged. They were a constellation, Emily, Tom, Buddy, the girl, growing brighter together. A band forged from shared experiences, full of courage and humanity. As the girl smiled through tears, Emily realized the journey ahead wasn't just about facing their own shadows. It was about knowing they had each other. The night transformed, their lives interwove like the branches above, fighting against the darkness, forging paths no one previously dared to walk. And together, under the reassuring glow of the stars, they turned toward Maplewood. Emily's heart felt buoyant. They would face their past, embrace the unknown, and rediscover the power of shared stories. A wave of promises flooded her mind, promises they would uphold together, each footstep echoing a resolve that would echo against the worries of tomorrow. But first, they needed to return home. "Let us go," Emily said softly, a smile lighting her face. Together. The shadows might loom, but she felt ready. They had inched closer to the light, and this rekindled spirit would be enough. For the girl, for Tom, and for themselves. As they turned back toward their friends, the faces eager to welcome them home, Emily knew this was only the beginning. Together, they would brave the storms and weather the night, all the while building brighter tomorrows. And with that, she felt an unmistakable call: watch them. It was no longer a whisper of fear. It was a chorus of hope, echoing through the trees and beyond the shadows. This was their moment to heal. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and show your support. Comment your reactions and feelings about this inspiring ending. Let's hear your heart. And share this video instantly with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. You need to subscribe now, for only true fans understand the importance of supporting this journey. Don't wait not even one more second to share. Your encouragement makes all the difference.